Welcome to the Profitability of Boat Auctions. I'm Kathy Ladis. I am the Marketing Director at National Powersport Auctions, and I'll be your host today. Today's webinar will be presented by Matt Amata. For those who are unfamiliar with Zoom, I'm just going to review a couple things. The audience, your audio and video is off for the presentation. And if you select your full screen mode, that'll probably be the most advantageous to see everything presented. There will be a question and answer portion at the end of the presentation, and we can unmute you so you can talk to Matt directly. There's also a Q&A at the bottom, should be in the bottom, usually in the middle or to the right of your screen. If you kind of hover over, you'll see come up where you can ask questions throughout the presentation. And we have panelists ready to answer those questions. And if we don't get to them, then we will follow up later or finish at the end. We'll also do that. We're thrilled that you could join us today. You'll see how important managing boat inventory is to your bottom line. Now, please give a warm welcome to Matt Amata, our presenter, our VP of RV and Marine at National Powersport Auctions.
Thanks, Kathy. Appreciate it. And thanks everyone for joining. A little background about myself. As Kathy said, my name is Matt Amata. I think looking at the attendee list, I've met a lot of you, know a lot of you. So thanks for chiming in. My experience in the boat business goes back to roughly 2000. I worked for almost 20 years for a company called National Liquidators. I ran that company the last 10 years of my career, which dealt with distressed boats, typically larger boats, but we sold both wholesale and retail. As my time there as well, we ran 4 full-service marinas. I've got experience with service departments, F&I, dockage, storage, and then also retail brokers. I have served on the board of directors for the National Marine Lenders Association and Propeller Club of America. Over my career, I joined NPA in 2022, so roughly 2 years ago, to expand on our boat and RV product from the processing, the clients, and just expanding the platform in general. So today, obviously, we'll be talking about the boat side of that. Quick agenda, what we'll be going over. Again, I realize there's a wide range of folks that have RSVP'd online. There's some lenders. This presentation is geared more toward a dealer, just to run through a little bit of what NPA is doing, what we can do for you, give an example. Certainly, there might be something in there for a lender or seller to take out of it. And I'll try to keep it very broad and applicable to all. If you have questions, like Kathy was saying, just pop them in the Q&A and I'll try to answer them. Agenda, we're going to go through marine auctions and just auctions in general in the marine industry, talk briefly about NPA and what we're doing in that space, touch on the data a little bit, and then go through a quick example and maybe look at some costs and opportunities that you weren't previously looking at. Trying to keep it short, so I will just be really overview on a lot of this stuff. But again, more detail, reach out to me anytime. I'm going to skip a little bit out of line here and go to the auctions and the marine industry in general and talk about that briefly before I go into NPA and our what we're doing in the space. Auctions in general have been a broadly accepted platform in the auto, truck, farm equipment, real estate, luxury goods like Sotheby's, and of course in power sports like NPA has been doing for over 30 years now. The reason in boats, in my opinion, why it hasn't been as widely accepted, historically the volume, the unit volume of boats is lower. Always the barrier to transport, the cost to do that, to bring it to an auction. You know, the turn time is much longer. It's not uncommon. We talk to dealers. I talk to dealers every week, and they have inventory that's over a year old. That's not as common in other industries. I hear all the time, yeah, we'll hold on to it and sell it in the spring. And there's a lot that goes, a lot of opportunity costs that are lost in following that model. So as the marine industry has evolved over the last several years with public and private equity money, MarineMax, OneWater, Skippers, Tommy's, there's a lot more focus on maximizing the supply chain, and part of that is inventory management. And so I think there's a great opportunity for auctions to be part of marine and marine inventory management. Certainly, it's not any part, it's just a part of it. And so understanding what we can do, understanding that data, the case for auctions are pretty obvious. Of course, the turn time's quicker, the costs are cheaper, and then you can allocate your time and resources to things that are making you money. So that said, I'll go into a little bit with MPA and who we are, and what we're doing. Again, I'll make this pretty quick. I think most of you know us or have done some business with us. We were established in 1990. We are the leader in Powersports Auctions, and have been for a long time. We run 9 locations. We run 10 sales a month. So Portland is a satellite location, sells to our Sacramento sale, and Dallas and Cincinnati, because of the higher volume, run 2 times a month. All the other locations are 1 time a month. And of course, those auction schedules and calendars are on our website. We are wholly owned by Copart, which is a publicly traded company. So we have a lot of capital behind us. They have over 200 locations, and we run independent, however, through our platform and through these 9 facilities. We love visitors, love to have people come out and see us. I think it's just awe-inspiring to see all the variety of product, super cool buildings, indoor space, outdoor space, really a giant toy store, and take a tour of what we're doing and see it firsthand. Our other auctions in the space tend to be car auctions, which are high volume, millions of cars sold a year. We do everything but cars. So when we talk a little bit about how we're different, when you come into an NPA facility like the one pictured here, you would see motorcycles, side-by-sides, dirt bikes, snowmobiles, golf carts, PWCs, campers, RVs, trailers, and of course boats. It's a perfect fit. It's just a perfect mix, and the dealers that come to our sales are excited about having all that different product in the lane, and we're getting tremendous crossover bidding as part of it. The amount of bidders we have at a sale can be 3-4 times that are at car auctions, typical car auctions. So what are we doing to focus on the marine sector? What are we doing different? We're taking an approach, an educational approach through webinars like this to methodically grow and educate the dealers in the space, encourage them to come learn about the auction, encourage them to reach out for data, and then test the waters as buyers and sellers. And by doing that, we're going to grow a much bigger platform. Since I've been on board, we've had an education event at our NPA Lakeland facility where we invite dealers out. It's a 4-hour roundtable. We went, and we've done that actually twice now, go through our condition report process. Sellers and buyers are welcome to come. Attending, they got a credit. We do trade events. We're at all the major trade events, talking to dealers there, showing them what we're doing. We have a sales team, outside and inside sales team that covers the country. They're stopping in boat dealers all the time, talking about what we're doing, seeing if there's any questions, anything we can do to help. We have an awesome marketing department. They do telemarketing, direct mail campaigns, e-blasts, work on our database to make sure we're reaching the right people, letting them know about the events that we're having, the sales that we're having. And then, of course, this webinar, this is the first that we've done on the boat side. There's 2 other ones, as Kathy mentioned, upcoming. Talk a little bit more about what we're doing. All that is, again, to help us grow in the space, and add dealers to our database, add buyers in the lane, sellers, really with the goal of transparency. So when I talk about transparency, I talk about that from both the selling and the buying perspective. We want to have both parties have a good experience and make that market so that, we're building this for the long term, not for the unit count every month. And so some of the things that we're doing on that, we want to make sure that we're fully disclosing and showing the product and everything we know about the product. We've spent a lot of time perfecting our condition report. This is what one of our boat condition reports looks like, and I'll highlight just a couple of things on here. So our condition report score is out of 90. Very detailed. We run over 40 different metrics here. You can switch. It's split between mechanical and cosmetic, and then an aggregate total score. This unit at 75 would be about an average, 75 out of 90. But pointing out a couple of other things that we do on here. This picture, you can't see it super well. The first one on the second row, it is an electronic control module readout printout. We take a picture of that. That would show of the engine hours, how many of them were used at what RPM. And then also if the engine threw any fault codes or there were any resets done. Dealers really love seeing that. It lets them buy with confidence, especially if the engine's got higher hours, was used in a rental fleet. They can see under what circumstances and if there was any overheat or any issues with the engine. Every one of our boats that runs has to get a condition report. We don't let a boat run without a condition report. Almost over 90% of the time, unless we cannot absolutely get the reading off the engine or the blocks cracked or something like that, we get the engine hours on there. And then we also run compression. So you see, so with the compression, the engine hours, the ECM report, all of the other factors that we build into here, we get your condition report score here. We used at least 30 pictures typically. And this data is powerful, right? As we go into showing a little bit, just touching on the data, understanding this from a buy and sell perspective is super important, because it gives you the realistic expectation of what you could expect to sell it for. And then when you're going to buy it, you could see what issues there are, and if you have the expertise to address those and fix those. So I will segue that into data. And as we talk about the condition report score a little bit here, you'll see why that's important. So on the data side, this chart here represents basically seasonality. This is our price to book on units 10 years and newer and with the 75 plus CR score. And so, again, all locations, all averages, and our TSM, which is our territory sales manager team again, they provide this information typically monthly to their dealers or as requested. We usually show the last 3-month average and on a rolling basis. But one of the other things that we do, and some of our institutional sellers take advantage of this, but certainly we could dump it in and do custom reports at any time for any of our partners or our sellers. We track boat sales by the type of boat, obviously the location, which of our locations. We also track engine hours. We track horsepower, if it has a trailer. If we know it was used in salt or freshwater, we can segregate by mechanical or cosmetic condition to see what effect it would have. And the reason I point that out is this chart here is 75 plus CR, right? So what about a 65 CR? We can run that the same. What about a 65 CR on a pontoon boat in Texas? What about there's a lot of Freedom folks that registered or are online, and we appreciate that relationship. They look regularly at engine hours. So any fleet boat, right? Any rental boat, any club boat typically has higher engine hours. So we work with our partners to determine that and say, all things equal, except one boat's got 100 hours and one's got 1,000 hours. What's that difference? That's kind of the $1 million question that we try to dissect and chop that data up. So we use a really powerful tool, again, Power BI, which allows us to segregate that and dissect it in many different ways. So always happy to run custom reports and pull it apart however needed. This is just one of them, and this is the one we typically share. And I pulled it up and used this one specifically because I use it in the example that I do here at the end. And see real quick, it looks like there's a quick question here. Can you add the add-ons on the boat's horsepower and outboard count? When we book out boats, we don't do any add-ons. So it is just straight NADA wholesale. That is all we do there. So there are no add-ons. Horsepower, if it's an upgraded horsepower, that wouldn't be included in the book. So if the boat came with a 150 horsepower engine, it's got a 200 horsepower engine, when you're booking out the motor, that's included. It would automatically upgrade that. Same with the trailer. If a trailer's there or not there, it would be included. We don't include put on any additional add-on options. There's another question. I cannot pull a report on the value of a boat in your portal. That is correct. The VIN decoder, unfortunately, if you put in a Cypress K boat, it's not able to disseminate with the horsepower and the condition report scores. So there's no way to pull that up. We're always happy to provide data to you on that. But one boat with a 90 horsepower and one with the 200 horsepower is not comparing apples to apples. There's just not enough data on that. Is there movement toward generating clean wholesale values more often, especially on newer models? The clean wholesale values we get from JD Power, which is every 60 days. I've not heard of them generating that more often. Is the answer to that, but that's on their schedule. The next book drop is 5/1. Do engine warranties score higher in your ratings? They do not, but we can put in the auction notes. If there is warranty remaining, it would go right here in the auction notes, say engine warranty available until 2025, and it definitely is a selling point. We see the boats with warranty and they're selling for a little bit more. Do we list if a boat has been in fresh or saltwater? We do not. We know some of the boats, particularly club boats that are being rented in saltwater, were delivered in saltwater, come to us in saltwater or saltwater. But otherwise, say this boat, for example, has got a Florida repo title. Even if it was repossessed on an inland lake, we can't assume that a 2019 boat has never been used in saltwater, so we do not disclose that. Any way for titles to come quicker from the seller, maybe implementing having them on hand before auction day. Past couple have taken 3 to 4 weeks. We are working with most of the time titles are in-house. You'll see it says here, if we have the title or if it's a title coming, that means that we have a copy of the title and we're waiting on the seller to process it. We're always trying to improve that process. But certainly you're welcome to call. It shouldn't take 3 to 4 weeks. We definitely strive to get them out a little faster than that. One more question. What's the average selling price of boats in Florida at your auction, possibly listening to a higher end boat? So yeah, this data that we shared here is all locations. Certainly we could peel out Florida specifically. We could peel out units at a certain price, a certain type of unit. So to answer that question, I would say just reach out to me directly. Let's talk about exactly what it is, and I'll get you more specific data on that. This chart here, we talk about the money in the buy, and I certainly, don't want to belabor the point. Depending on the audience, everyone's got a different perspective on what's going on here. But I think it is always worth stating, and from an education perspective, to buy what's best in your market, right? I know it sounds crazy, but I talk to dealers all the time, and they're sitting on something that they know was not a good seller in their market, but they thought they bought it right. And so with the depreciating asset and having the power of the data at your hands, if you sell pontoon boats like crazy in your market, buy pontoon boats, take them on trade, right? If you don't, and you take a center console on trade, get rid of it quickly, right? And so I always just say that. I know it's very intuitive, but sometimes we lose sight of that. And controlling the costs, obviously, the data, use the seasonality data. NADA for the last 8 book drops has lowered the price of boats 1 to 4%. So when you take a trade, understanding the forward data, understanding the NADA trend, understanding the auction trend, understanding when you might be able to retail it and what the book might look like at that point. Again, a good marine retail could easily be 120 days. Like I said, I get calls all the time where it's a year plus old. One of the things too, as well, talk about at the purchase for a lot of our rental and fleet customers on that NADA, you can go backward and change the book time, right? So you know what you bought that boat at, and you could go every book change and put together and show what it depreciates at say the 3-year mark when you're looking to get rid of it. And you can understand that exactly, right? So you can understand what the use costs would be, and then what NPA could do for you. And again, we're part of the strategy. What MPA could do for you is you have retail, you have the auction, right? And so knowing when to do that. Some of our customers, for example, will retail for 60 days, lower the price for 30 days, and then take it to auction. So having that strategy in place, but the data is obviously the important part. And using the data at the purchase, right? Not waiting until it's a year old and then trying to backfill into the data. Okay, I've got an example that I have here, and again, it's just illustrative. Obviously, there's a lot more detail into it. What reality is not perfect, right? But one of the things I wanted to highlight is often unthought of opportunity costs. And the goal is to, hopefully in both these examples that I give, is that you get a new customer, right? You're taking a trade, allows you to take a trade, but just show you 2 different paths on that, and then a buy side example. Taking trades or other product type, I talked about the toy store mentality at MPA, and you can't really see in the background of this picture here, but all the different products that we have. And so many of our dealers are so excited that we're in the boat space. Boat dealers are excited, then they see and come to our facility, and they can take trades. And I had a guy who wanted to trade in a Harley. We can do it all, right? Anything but cars and autos, you could sell and with us with full confidence. And so that's why I always again welcome you out to one of our facilities to see what we have going on. So here's an example that I am giving. It's going to be the same example 2 different ways. So one is you take this boat on trade and you retail it, and one is you take it on trade and you sell it through MPA using our data. So this first example here is you would retail it. And I'm assuming that you took it on trade last June and that you just retailed it this month, okay? So it's a 2020 Bennington. I'm assuming an 80 CR score. So again, that meets our category, our criteria of 75 plus, right? You took it on trade for $28,000 in June of last year. The book on this, including 150 horsepower motor and trailer, at the time was $30,595. You sold him a brand new boat, made a ton of money on that, so you gave him the 28,000 for this trade. You hold the boat for 11 months until April. You have floor plan interest, you have storage, you have insurance, maintenance, winterization, if you're in a winter climate. And then you sold it in April this month. The retail value of that boat this month is $32,620. Say you got full bore retail on it. That 11 months of holding costs would have netted you 25,563. Or approximately, you would have lost approximately $2,300, and it took you 11 months to do that. So I know I always get the question, but I don't have, I don't have storage. I own my facility, or I just pay a blanket policy for my insurance, and I've got Joe on payroll anyway, so I don't really pay to clean it. These are all opportunity costs, right? I mean, even though you own your facility, you still have a boat taking up space that you could have used that space for something else. Even though you have a dealer policy, you still put a total on it, right? And so I think I used a rate of 0.0015 for this, but you still have to assign a value to it. And even though Joe's out there every day, having him clean the boat and make sure that the covers are on there or shrink wrapping it, Joe could be doing something else. So these are often costs that are overlooked or overthought. I bought it for 28, I sold it for 32, I made $4,000. Well, you didn't really, right? So you tied up 28 grand of your money for 11 months, and in reality, you lost $2,300 on this. There's a quick question. Shipping costs to the auction have been pretty high. Do I see these coming down with economies of scale? Right now, we're seeing shipping on boats on trailer at about $2 to $250 a loaded mile. If you package them up and send 3 boats at a time, you can get that cost down as well. But happy to always turn you on to our shippers, or we have a transit department that can quote that as well. Most people use their own folks to bring it in because it's a little more economical, especially if it's just a day run or back. So that's a great segue into the next option here for that same boat, taking it to NPA. So the exact same boat, you took it on trade last year, same $28,000. The same wholesale book was $30,950. And here you see I built in an estimated transport of $600. Assuming that you could get it in and you're within 250-ish miles, you should be able to get it there and get your guy back for that in a day at your cost. If you have an outside company do it, it can be a little higher, as the question asked. But I use the exact same factors, the exact same. Our auction average at that time on the chart was 95.18. So had you bought this 28,000, book was 30, brought it to us, you could have expected 29,120, less our sales fee, the transport to get it there, our cleaning fee, and our admin condition report fee. You would have netted 27,371. So you would have lost approximately $600, but you would have done so in about 40 days, right? So retail sounds great, looks great. Factor in all the costs in the 2 examples. Again, not perfect. Of course, I understand it's just illustrative. 11 months, you tied up $28,000 to lose $2,300. This case, you lost $600 in 40 days. Again, hopefully you got a new customer out of it, and everything worked out on that side. So not really a loss. Just on this trade, it would be a loss. I'm going to pause there one quick second and see if there's any questions on that. You can either throw your hand up or just ask them on the question board. All right. So talking about tying up the money for that amount of time, we're talking about on the sell side. I realize, a lot of folks dialed in to talk about the sell side, to talk about what we're doing and our data. But on the buy side as well, utilizing our platform has that opportunity as well. So give you a quick example. We talked about maybe this Bennington is not in your market. You don't sell pontoon boats, but you love bow riders. Kill it. You do it, sell those all day. You've got a great canvas guy. So same thing, you sold that boat at auction, but while you were there, you found this 2021 Sea Ray. This one's got a 65 CR. So remember the chart I showed you was 75 plus CRs. 65 CRs are selling at about 65% a book. Okay. So book on this was 33. Let's say you could buy this at the auction for 21. You take your 28,000 that you put back in your pocket. Say you did $3,000 in recon. It needed new upholstery or a bottom job, whatever it was. Same transport back to you. Same interest fees, same storage costs, same insurance, same cleaning and maintenance. You were into it for, roughly 31.4. You sold it this April, again, 10 months later, and the retail book on it was 37,000. You made 6,000. So took your money, put it back to work, and you can make money on the buy side. You can minimize any loss on the sell side and be more fluid and have better inventory management. So in conclusion, we talked about seasonal trends. We talked about the product in your territories that you do better with. We talked about turn times. We talked about us being a partner for you in data and transparency. And we talked about auctions being a part of your strategy, not your entire strategy, but a part of it. And using all that to limit your risks with your used inventory. So here's all my information. Certainly welcome conversations one-on-one, sharing data, custom reporting, talking about your specific inventory or specific situation. And again, hopefully having you join us and learn more about what we're doing and see what we're doing and being part of the MPA family. So with that, I turn it back to Kathy and thank everyone for attending.
This concludes the profitability of boat auctions. I hope everyone gained some knowledge and insights on boat inventory management. The webinar was recorded, so look for a link. We'll send you a follow-up email. When you leave the presentation today, a quick survey is going to pop up. Please answer that. We really appreciate your input. And as Matt mentioned, we are having 2 more marine webinars, one on June 5th and one on July 16th. The June 5th webinar will go into details on how you actually participate in an auction. That's pretty fun. And then the marine webinar on July 16th, that'll delve into the data aspect of how you look at the data, how you read an NPA condition report to help you in your decision-making process. So look for email notifications about these webinars. We hope to see you at those events. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.